Greetings to all, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, whichever time zone you are joining in from. I appreciate you all joining us today for the telecom webinar. I hope your day is going exceptionally well. So, for today, we are diving into a very stimulating topic, which is how will communication service providers leverage AI advancements? Your attendance as attendees is greatly valued. So allow me to start with an introduction of myself and AI Core Spot, which is the platform to you. My name is Nitin Naveen, and I serve as the Vice President of Innovation and Strategy at AI Core Spot. With nearly 2 decades of experience in consultancies that navigate emerging technologies, I'm privileged to have collaborated with many stakeholders and global thinkers, absorbing their inventive ideas and solutions. Today, my colleagues Arvind is there and Naveen we also have in the backend who will present to contribute their dynamism to our session. Their commitment and endeavor in shaping this event deserve a hearty round of applause. To tell you about AI Core Spot, it commenced its journey around 4 years ago, established a focal point for knowledge in different emerging technologies like AI, ML, robotics, IoT, and amongst different areas. Our webinars aim to impart cutting-edge technological developments within the industry. Every month, we explore different technology realms in different industries, introducing fresh themes and continuously expanding our reach. We aspire to cultivate the foremost AI-centric community globally, inviting like-minded individuals to join in our collective progression and triumph. By conducting webinars and hybrid events supported by industry insights, we anchor our learning in trustworthy information provided by esteemed experts and our valued partners. We also curate content across different digital mediums such as blogs, videos, newsletters, podcasts, which illuminate the rapidly changing tech landscape. Turning to today's webinar, for which you all are here for, we have got a very compelling subject on this agenda, as I said earlier: intelligent networks, limitless opportunities, and embracing AI for communication service providers. Our speakers will delve into significant aspects such as effective AI strategy roadmap, maximizing ROI, network assurance, utilizing Gen AI, mistakes to avoid, and much more within the communication space. The expert panel is set to provide substantial insights and spark enriching discussions, which is not to be missed. So let's begin with some key pointers. First of all, acknowledgements to all our community partners for their pivotal role today. Our community partners include Cambium Networks, InfoVision, Flex, and Cox Communications. Immense thanks to you, our attendees, for dedicating your time and energy. Your engagement is crucial in reaching your objectives and networking with fellow peers. Our primary mission as a platform is facilitating access to valuable knowledge and fostering significant connections. So should you depart with innovative concepts or new networks, we'll consider it a great effort from our side. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speakers to all of you. Our first speaker is Dimitri, who is Senior Director of Engineering at Cambium Networks. The second speaker is Sudeep, who is Director AI, CTG, and Strategy at Flex. Our third speaker is Samantha. She is Director AI and Digital Strategy at Cox Communications. Our fourth speaker and moderator is Manish, who is Industry Principal of Telecom Space at InfoVision. Please note before we commence our discussion, the opinions expressed by all the speakers are their personal ones and it's not represent of the associated organizations which they represent for. So with that said, I pass on the stage to Manish to steer this captivating panel discussion. Over to you, Manish.
Thank you, Nitin. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here today. We have a very interesting and intriguing topic to cover on this webinar. I'm sure we've all heard about how AI technology is impacting pretty much every industry that's out there. We will be focusing on how communication service providers can leverage AI. There are obviously a litany of use cases that seem to be of relevance to the industry. We could look at how CSPs can use AI to better plan, design, engineer, build, and operate their networks. There are use cases that are tied to more administrative functions such as finance, HR, marketing, etc. And finally, there are use cases that touch the end customer in terms of CSPs offering customer support, managing interactions with customers, and providing optimization in terms of the systems. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. And Sudeep, we'll start with you. Obviously, one of the most important things that CSPs have to look at is having an effective AI strategy, both short term and long term. So, from your experience, what are some of the key steps they must take to build that strategy? Because when we look at what's been happening in the industry the last 3 or 4 years, most CSPs are struggling with both the long term as well as short term strategy implementation.
Sudeep, you're on mute.
Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, thanks, Manish, for asking that question. I think that's a very, very important question. Most of the companies, not just the CSP only, have been struggling with that. What is our short-term and long-term strategy has to be. And the struggle is from multiple different fronts. It's market is moving too fast, and there's every 6 months there's a new products are coming up. Now it's a challenge for the companies where to invest, what to do and how we should we go ahead with investing now because everything is super expensive as it's coming as new solutions are coming. Those are very expensive. Now it's many people when I talk to the leaders of various different organizations, there is another struggle I see. Is it worth waiting, let the all the dust settle down and find out where? But at the same time the thought crosses in mind, oh, will we lose our competitive edge? So it's very chaotic, and there has to be certain strategies which you need to. And I'm glad you asked that question. So my view on that one is you need to define not only hone into your short term but a long term strategy. The short term strategy need to be vision that what a organization need. Divide everything into a quick wins versus big wins. Big wins usually take time to be developed, but a quick wins where you can deliver something in that 3 to 12 months time frame. You need to focus on both, keep a kind of a combination of both, and play a balanced approach. With that kind of approach, once you have that segmentation, I think another focus which you need is to prioritize the implementations in such a way whenever you embark on a journey of a big wins, prioritize your implementation in such a way that you will divide it in a such a way that you connect the dots eventually, and that completes the whole workflow. If we do that way, I think it's a more manageable and people can see the impacts. And also, somehow you can de risk it for getting vague and trying something very ambitious for 2 years and realizing that by the time you developed it, it's already outdated because new emerging technologies have already taken over and providing better benefits.
Right. So, great point, Sudeep. I know you used the term expensive a few times, and I think having an effective strategy is obviously very important. But what is equally important for most senior executives is to be able to utilize the strategy to maximize ROI. So, what, according to you, can CSPs do to maximize their ROI from various AI initiatives? If you can expand on that.
Absolutely. ROI is the key, right? The key measure of our investments, are we really doing well or not? I think the thought process on ROI starts before you make any investments. Key things organization can do, have their mathematical models right. Make sure that you're gonna hear a bunch of things from everywhere from the organization, and you're gonna hear from when you're doing a use case identification. You will be reaching out to engineers that are super ambitious. They're gonna tell you a great story. I think important is to vet that story through FP&A. Understand that if it is the real model, what are the risks involved into delivering that, and important to understand on that one is to improve the ROI as a part of a strategy, as a part of funding. What you need to do is you need to find out what are those recurring use cases are. Invest in recurring use cases because recurring use cases you invest once, and then you reap the benefit every iteration whenever you do it. For example, if you are looking at a legal contract processing, and that's something Gen AI can do really good. Investing in that will help you to get benefits over time, every time there is a contract going through the process. So those kind of technologies should be prioritized to improve the ROI with time. The second, you can look at it in a different way too. You can focus yourself investing into a backend technologies and the one technology which scales over the period of time. What it means is you may start with a pilot program, and then after doing those pilot programs, you can add more use cases to it. And that means that your investments and use returns growing as you are adding more use cases to it. Just to give you an example, if you think you are investing in a schedule maintenance or schedule optimization technology, now that schedule optimization technology can go into your supply chain optimization, delivery optimization, installation optimization. So those are basically various different use cases which can be added to the same technology. And that helps you to improve the ROI over the period of time. So idea is look at those opportunity, prioritize those opportunity in these two factors to improve the ROI.
Great points, Sudeep. So investing in recurring uses and obviously investing in technologies that are scalable and extendable towards multiple use cases. So, Dimitri, let's dive a little deeper into actual use cases for CSP that can help optimize network operations, right? So, anything around network reliability and performance. So, uh, could you provide us with maybe a couple of examples or use cases where CSPs can use AI technology effectively in that space?
Right. And so Sudeep mentioned a couple points, very good points. One is to start with the pilot. It's a great idea overall, and when it comes to any application. And he also managed a couple use cases like legal documents and optimizing the schedules. So what I would like to focus on more related to the communication devices. That's my background and my company's background on the device and network performance. And from this perspective, I think we are seeing the shift from the use case in terms of monitoring a specific device in the network and the specific performance over unique device to the overall quality of experience for the specific customer. So with the AI, we can look into the details over quality of the service quality that our customer is getting, and more importantly, we can predict his dissatisfaction before he actually do the call. So we can do the preemptive detection of the poor quality of his connectivity, his poor quality of I don't know, his Netflix videos before he even do the support call. And giving this technology to the service provider allows them to detect and address those issues. And the next step in this process, AI can help giving the specific recommendations on what you need to do in the network, because many times the network is becoming more and more complicated. It can help to narrow down the specific places in your network where is the bottleneck, what are the issues, and what are the specific steps you need to do to address these performance issues. So these are the two major areas where AI can help. And the last one that I'm very passionate about is overall the quality of experience where AI can help. That's how we engineer and do the traffic management overall in the network, where we can do smart and let's call it AI-enabled traffic control. Traditionally, the quality of service was based on the like a packet-based, looking at the specific packets in your network and prioritizing them. With the AI, we can move it to the higher levels, from the packet base to the application to the specific service, and monitoring the quality of the specific service, let's say Netflix, or let's say Microsoft Teams, or let's say this type of a webinar. And by looking into this qualitative metrics of those services in your network can give you the insights how it performs.
No, really good. I think, yeah, AI-driven network assurance and network traffic management, quality of service, those are all extremely relevant to every CSP. So, Samantha, let's slowly but surely turn our attention towards Gen AI technology. Obviously, we hear a lot about Gen AI within the industry. A lot of executives are excited as well as skeptical about how they can use Gen AI technology effectively within the industry. So could you maybe tell us about how they can go about solving some of the business problems that that they encounter, as well as some of those common pitfalls that they should try and avoid?
Sure, of course. And I think we can all remember and kind of recall the massive hype waves that came with sort of the big Gen AI boom over the last couple of years. And a lot of companies responded or maybe reacted to that. And I think one of the first recommendations I would make in terms of implementing generative AI technology is go back to your, tried and true process for first defining business goals and saying, what are we trying to accomplish here? What problems are we trying to solve? And then involving your AI experts to understand what kind of AI capability might be the best fit to solve that problem. Everyone on this call knows, right, that AI is not just one thing. It's an umbrella term that's often used to describe a number of similar but different technologies. And generative AI specifically has seemed a bit like kind of a shiny hammer recently. If you know the metaphor, right, that when you have a hammer, you start going around looking for nails. And I think folks have kind of tended to skip to generative AI as a solution. So I think it's really, really critical when considering Gen AI solutions to do what we always do, right? Start with defining business requirements, business needs, and then get to the how. I think there are also some common pitfalls I've seen emerge that are important to keep in mind and avoiding as we begin down the generative AI path. Again, in response to that Gen AI hype wave, I think a lot of organizations were tempted to just start throwing Gen AI at different problems in different parts of the business and just go do it now. Certainly, they were being approached by many different vendors, partners, those sorts of things, and in some cases that led to standing up many point solutions as opposed to thinking about it from an enterprise standpoint. And Sudeep and Dimitri, I'm going to echo their points a little bit here, but how do we, instead of developing point solutions, focus on developing extensible enterprise capabilities? So thinking about that AI umbrella, how do you identify the AI capabilities that are most important to your business, and then implement them in a way where you can do the majority of your development lift up front, and then rinse and repeat a little bit across many use cases. So I think that's a key approach when thinking about how to do this at an enterprise level.
Yeah, fantastic. I think those are very relevant points and something that I'm sure most industry executives would agree with. Sudeep, I think one of the challenges that a lot of CSPs have while they're implementing AI is they don't necessarily have all the capabilities and skill sets in-house to realize a successful AI implementation. So there's obviously an ecosystem of partners out there that they can possibly leverage toward various AI initiatives. So what role can these external partners play in helping CSPs in this area?
I think that's a very important question. A key is in implementing these all AI use cases. I think it's a speed because then one side you're trying to manage the anxiousness of a leadership. When you're going to show us the results, and at the same time you're trying to learn a technology and trying to develop and deploy it yourself. That's a long road. And then there is a full of risk as well because a limited understanding and limited knowledge will not result what you are expecting. So that's where partner comes to rescue. The partners now we can look at the partners from a two different angle in current space. One is your implementation partners. The implementation partners brings tons of worth of experience, a number of years of experience. They know what technology. They work as a thought leaders with you to identify a technology because they have implemented. So bring it the worth of experience, and they help you to de-risk the whole implementation, get it done within the time frame you're looking for. Plus it helps you to train your workforce, and that training is expedited training as compared to you learn yourself and try to deploy or hire people. That's still a long road. So I prefer that way of implementation because you can't boil an ocean. You need to always help partners, and these partners are really, really helpful when they're established, and you maintain the systems after because they give you that much of training. Another way to look at the partnerships is identifying growth partners. And what I mean by growth partners, there are always certain opportunity to have alliances in the industry. There are lots of new companies which are emerging and having those cutting edge AI technology, which you can use yourself in within your organization. That's where the partnership kind of engagements works really well. You support them, they support them. It's a win-win. And having those kind of key partnerships, especially with the companies who are shaping the future of AI, is most desirable. And I think people in all company organization, including CSPs, should focus on that because that brings your revenue growth. They open that channels for additional revenues. Be the part of that ecosystem, and that helps you to explore more opportunities. So if you need to focus on both uh, implementation partnership and growth partnerships.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think using an effective combination of well-established partners as well as some of those early stage organizations that can provide you with insights into newer technologies and form good alliances, that would be really important. So Samantha, obviously the cost factor is always something that's on the minds of executives. But what factors do CSPs need to keep in mind besides the costs while they're implementing AI technology? So we've obviously heard of AI and Gen AI implementations that have gone awry. What can CSPs do to protect themselves from such scenarios?
Sure. Before we leave the cost question, I kind of want to break that up and to think about it as kind of initial implementation costs versus ongoing costs. And I think sometimes organizations can tend to think primarily about the development or initial implementation costs, and there can be a perception, if you're not deep in the AI space, that you apply AI to a problem and then it's done. You solved it, and now you're good to go. And folks on this call know that it is an ongoing effort. This is near and dear to my heart because my team at Cox is in the weeds every day, creating content, writing playbook, tuning, coaching our NLP or our LLM. And so, AI, as exciting and technologically advanced as it is still a very human effort over time in terms of having folks with their hands on the tool, ensuring that they are keeping it on course and helping ensure it delivers quality kind of quality solutions over time. So I think one thing to keep in mind from a cost standpoint is it's not just initial development, it's not just your model costs, it is also the very human effort of training and tuning that model over time. Now, in terms of protecting from kind of models gone awry or generative AI solutions gone awry. I think one part of it certainly is what I just mentioned, which is those human teams who help ensure things stay on track. But I think another key aspect is the data sources and the information you get access to. And I think something we have grown and learned over time in our implementation at Cox is that it is not necessarily advantageous to give your model access to all of your information sources. It depends on the quality of those sources. It depends on the freshness of those sources. And we've all seen some kind of cringy examples of generative AI gone awry in the news. One major way we are protecting against that is by being very thoughtful about what data and information sources we give our generative AI solutions access to, and by being a little bit more controlled, and rather than saying the more the better, we're saying we need to be complete and robust, but we need to, above all, ensure it is accurate, up to date, fresh, all those things. That has been just a huge asset and a huge way of kind of increasing our comfort level and our just assurance in the quality of the AI solution we're delivering is limiting those high quality data sources.
So it always goes back to having high quality data sources, and that holds true not just for AI, but a set of technologies that we talk about in the emerging technology space. So very good points. And so Dimitri, let's get back to maybe talking about some use cases here. So one is when you look at wireless network service providers, for the most part, they have slightly different requirements as opposed to a lot of fixed line network operators. So can you talk about maybe a use case that is very relevant to the wireless providers and where AI technology can be used to improve their network operations?
Right. So yeah, every time when we talk about AI, and Samantha mentioned that it's a lot of hype around the AI, and everything looks like a hammer. AI looks like a hammer, and everything looks like a nail. So I typically like to go into the specific use cases that we can discuss, and that's exactly a very good point of the wireless application for the AI. So we're dealing with a lot of wireless ISPs that are using wireless to deliver the service to their customers. And here in US and worldwide, it is very common to use the unlicensed 5 gigahertz band for this to deliver as a very cost-effective way of delivering service. And right now, here in US, there is a new initiative by FCC to open up the 6 gigahertz band as well for the operators. And it's already started last year. So now it is, let's call it unlicensed. But because it is unlicensed frequency band, there is a lot of interference, meaning people, all different ISPs can use it at the same time. So the frequency planning and the proper frequency planning to avoid the self-interference, to avoid the interference with other operators, is becoming a significant challenge for the operators. So AI can really help in this area, help you to find the channels, because you are dealing with a massive amount of data. You are dealing with the database of the licensed links. You're dealing with the so many different permutations, like the distance, like the channel bandwidth, specific frequency, even the geography. If you're on top of the mountain and you can hear a lot of noise from the all around. So to feed all this data into the AI and helping you to do the channel planning, it's considered for a long time like a holy grail of the wireless, unlicensed wireless bands. So that's one of the applications that is unraveling right now. There is a lot of work on this going on right now, and we will see more in this space in future.
Right. So no, great. So using AI to basically improve frequency coordination. So
Mhm.
That's really relevant. I think, you know, CSPs, obviously they're always looking for ways in which they can expand their network, right? Acquire new customers, optimize network coverage in many cases. So is there a use case you can think of where you can use AI to effectively do that, Dimitri?
Right. So that's another very neat application, very specific application use case. When you're looking at your current network and your current coverage, uh, it can be really challenging to find the areas where you can grow based on the population, based on your specific coverage, based on your equipment. When we talk about the wireless, where are your towers located? And to identify those areas and again get the all sorts of data, many times unstructured data, as the population, as the coverage maps, geography, and getting outputs and specific insights. What are the addresses of people you can service? What is their demographics? So you can structure your marketing campaign targeting those customers. That's a very neat use case, and it is a pretty straight ROI calculation if you can basically get new customers.
Right. No, absolutely. I think, yeah, using it for network expansion and optimizing coverage. I think if you have AI-driven models that can provide accurate information in that regard, that would be very helpful. So, um, finally, let's talk about maybe some use cases that involve the end customer, right? So it could be a residential customer, it could be a business customer. How can CSPs use AI to improve customer support, you know, technical support essentially in some cases? And how can they draw insights from various interactions with a customer, Dimitri?
Mhm. Well, the low hanging fruit, and I believe many customers, many companies, not only CSPs but all across the board, using the different virtual assistants or chatbots to help their customers. That's the way how they provide access to the knowledge base, how they provide access even to the support. So like a first line of support for many, it's a virtual assistant now. Before going to the real human being, you are faced with the chatbot that helps you to answer obvious questions, I guess, and filter out and structure your request. So we've seen it already, and it's applied in many companies. The next level, what many organizations are doing for the technical support, it is the same engine, but it is used mm, by the by people working on the technical support side. So technical support engineers, they have the access to the database, like knowledge database. They can find the similar tickets that already happened, like related tickets, and they can find the relatable information to solve the specific problem. So that's kind of a next level. And again, we see it with all the products like Zendesk. It can help you. There are a bunch of different solutions that can help you on this front. Um, and the next application is actually analyzing the patterns that are going on in your network, right? So the one that I mentioned with the quality of experience and analyzing the specific traffic patterns and preemptive kind of maintenance and finding out what's wrong even before you're getting the technical support call or technical support interaction with your chatbot. So you know that this area is affected and you can notify your customers, oh, we are already aware that there is an issue, and we are working on it.
Right. So having, AI powered customer portals, virtual assistants would be very helpful in optimizing customer support operations. There is a question that's related to that in a way, from the audience. How can AI make customer experiences better, like giving personalized suggestions or solving problems before they can happen? So I think that's a combination of a Gen AI, as well as possibly an AI technology that they're referring to. So, Samantha, would you like to maybe take that question and shed some light on how that's possible?
Yeah, I can. One thing that's interesting, so in terms of personalized responses, and I think, solving them before they happen, proactive, right, is just, doing the work up front before the user contact. For years in the virtual assistant space, we've been using user information, right? You pipe it in through an API and use that to customize your response. And so I think generative AI allows you to do that in a more scalable, dynamic way. So rather than having to kind of pre-script and develop very specific responses and exactly how you're going to use that information, you can supply that user data and then allow the generative AI to do a lot more things with it, right? To be able to be a lot more dynamic and responsive than you ever could have with deterministic conversational AI. But the other thing, thinking about personalization in another way, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was thinking about generative AI really about accessing the information to create a response on the fly and pulling in that information, determining the answer was the benefit. But as we've been rolling out generative AI use cases, I realized I super undervalued the benefit, the personalization benefit in just using very tailored language. So even if the generative AI isn't pulling in all this outside data and creating kind of a novel response, it's tweaking the response to respond in a much more human way. And it is wild to me what a difference that makes. So even without, a substantive change in the content, how much that personalization matters just in the wording to respond very specifically to the user's question, as opposed to responding with a pre-scripted answer. And so we launched a proactive generative AI conversational experience in Q3 of this year. And it was in the support space. And we were very overt. We were transparent with our users that, hey, this is our virtual assistant. We are reaching out to help you out in this way and that way. But we had users saying, thanks, have a great Labor Day weekend. Appreciate you. And it was just so clear from the language that the personalization just of that generative response just made a world of difference. So those are some of my thoughts around personalization and solving problems before they happen.
Yeah, you don't want to move away from the human experience completely, right? So personalization is very important, and you can't have either one without the other. So talking about the actual teams that usually implement Gen AI solutions, for example, talk about successful Gen AI implementations. What, according to you, would be kind of the ideal team composition? What are some of those key skills, areas of expertise that team members would require? Samantha?
Yeah. So I think all of our minds tend to go to the more technical roles and the very technical skill sets, and those are wonderful and great. But I think the part that can sometimes be undervalued are the business side folks who are not, they're technically savvy, but their strength is really in knowing what good outcomes look like and being able to describe those in natural language. And I think the tools themselves are really supporting utilizing their value proposition. So, in creating generative AI experiences, increasingly the platform asks you to describe what you're trying to accomplish in natural language. And so it's the generative AI itself reducing the burden on those highly technical skill sets, and instead allowing users who just know what they're, know what we're trying to do, know how to create good outcomes for users and for the business, it's really allowing them to relay their knowledge in a much more intuitive way. So I think the undervalued but increasingly important skill set is this technically savvy but more business side user who can describe good outcomes.
No, great. And we have a question from the audience, which is very similar to the one that you just answered. But yeah, how can CSPs equip their workforce with the necessary skills to effectively harness AI? What essential roles and expertise are required to lead successful AI initiatives? So I think we covered that for the most part, but if there's anything else you want to add based on that question, go ahead, Samantha.
I think that's a big question. So I certainly welcome my co-panelists here to jump in on that one. But yeah, I think it's not everybody in an organization is going to be an AI expert, nor do they need to be. But I think being able to leverage organizational understanding and organizational AI resources, partnered with, I think, with what many folks need to bring to the table is, hey, here's a business problem we're trying to solve. Here's how we're trying to, here's the outcome we're trying to achieve, and be a partner and a collaborator in that way.
Absolutely. And Sudeep or Dimitri, would you like to add anything to that?
I think what Samantha just mentioned, I think that's the key to that. We call it as a hub and spoke model. It has to be collaborative. And it has to be collaborative because everyone cannot acquire everything on AI, and it's very hard to train whole workforce. But if you come together as a one team and collaborate on that, there is an ideation is happening somewhere. They bring the subject matter level of expertise. There is a small team of AI engineer work together to de-risk that and envision what can be developed. So it's a combination. It's a collaboration, tight collaboration, and that is going to make your implementations and use case implementation successful. And that has been working for us for quite some time.
Great. Yeah. Dimitri, anything from your side?
Yeah. So one thing I would recommend, and it's probably a universal advice regarding any project you start, that it is very important to have like an advocate in the executive team who will support you. So without the support on the executive team, I saw so many projects basically falling down to pieces because and it's not about necessarily about the budget. It's not necessarily about the strict involvement, but you need the support who will be interested and who will help you to get the project moving. So that's probably my biggest advice.
Right. No, absolutely. Some very good points there. And I think, Sudeep, to kind of continue with what we were just talking about, I think building a strong culture of innovation is extremely important within the organization for AI adoption, right? It's something that's essential to all CSPs and all organizations. Uh, what are some of the mistakes that CSPs must avoid while building this culture? Because it's obviously very necessary, but it also needs guardrails, it needs tempering. So can you maybe tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Uh, See, building an innovation culture is the key because that's where the germination of ideas gonna be. There is tools available emerging across the industry for AI, whether it's a Gen AI, enterprise AI. But what you need is an idea to be generated. Where we do apply? What are those key use cases going to be? And that's going to happen with that in when you start developing culture of innovation within the organization. Now that is a caveat there because when you start beating a drum, talking about it in your staff meetings and say, I need ideas, I need this, I need POCs, it goes airy very quickly. And that's where you see there are a lot of science project mushrooms And those mushrooming of those science project and end up at POC only, never scale. So that is a key caveat everyone need to be understand when we talk about building a culture of innovation within the organization. So Dimitri brought up a very good point. He said it needs an executive buying. And I will add to that that, before it is, but it need to get two different thought processes within the organization. One is a top-down approach, a vision, which is created from executive level, where we are going to go, align with all the AI activities in a direction where you see organization going in next 2 to 3 years. So those activities need to be trickled down to that all the teams across the organization when we're thinking of culture of innovation, and that aligns with that objectives of business goals. In addition to that, the top-down approach should provide tools to the organization within the company. Those means tools that how do we ensure that this particular thought process or use case you are thinking qualifies for implementation and investment. What is the ROI? Give them a tool to evaluate ROI forehand. Give them a guideline to evaluate that we need X amount of ROI before it is considered as a initiative. So those are the things, and provide them a support to invest into right technologies which scales over the period of time. That's a part of a top-down approach. At bottoms up, you don't want to tighten too much of your top-down approach, because you tighten it too much, then you're going to kill the innovation within the organization. So there has to be a bottom of freedom. And that's what need to be developed as a bottom-up approach. Once you provided all these tools and started talking to in teams about culture of innovation and why it is, what direction, I think give them a freedom to think what are those use cases could be. Give them a funding where they can do proof of concept within the guardrails. Building that guardrails is very important for building a successful culture of innovation. Otherwise, it's $1 million spend, and with a blink of an eye, and nothing comes out as to a finish line.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the key point was, yeah, undertaking a two-pronged approach, essentially a bottom-up as well as a top-down approach, so that you're able to maintain a sense of balance within the organization where you can achieve business objectives, but at the same time, you're not throttling the innovative mindset, of your engineers and developers, right? So great points, Sudeep.
And
Uh,
as I say it always, right, it's not about what we can do. That's an engineer's version that, what we can do. Hey, I can do this, I can do that. But what it is, what you're doing with the innovation culture is what makes sense to do. So that's as long as we can differentiate that, you hone into your innovation culture. I think that you will not fail.
Right. And I think in the process we've already answered one of the questions from the audience as well around, what common mistakes must CSPs avoid when building a culture of innovation. So it's a great job, but there's Sudeep. Uh, Finally, a lot of CSP executives are facing that dilemma, right? Of high investment, soft gains. So a lot of the times you obviously put in a lot of money, but the gains are fairly limited and short term in nature. So do you have any suggestions for these executives on how they can circumvent this problem?
Yes, that struggle is right, because with the hype with all LLMs and co-pilots, everyone try to board that train, and sooner they're realizing this is an expensive value proposition, and the returns are very soft. Yes, there are improvement, there are efficiency gains, but that cannot be, they are not reflecting in our P&L, are not reflecting into next budget planning. So the key thing is for executives to start thinking, investing into both, as I mentioned earlier, have your strategy of quick wins and big wins. Invest into the big wins, identify those big wins earlier, have a balanced approach of the quick wins and big wins, and that will help you to get the dollars. It's Gen AI. Also, there is a perspective change need to happen. When we think of a Gen AI, and thanks to all the co-pilots out there, all that open AI stuff, we start thinking that we can deploy in the marketing, sales, and all the soft gains. Great. But I think there are bigger opportunities to deploy the same tool into a different perspective to have that, tangible gains. Look at it where the money on the table is. Giving you an example. When we look at the procurement, what comes in mind when we talk about it? The first thing is, oh, procurement, I have a lot of data. I can do a Gen AI tool, which can help me do uh, soothe the whole, improve the efficiency of my procurement. I think that's great. But can you also think a little bit different, where you say that, okay, I'm getting a procurement, I'm buying these, I'm trying to negotiate pricing with my vendors, maybe at 6 months, quarterly basis. Can I find those opportunity where I can go and start negotiating those prices? It's essentially the same tools, but that is the money on the table. And that money on the table is a tangible money. Deploying tools to the right use cases is the key.
All right. No, fantastic. I think you're right. I think quick wins like Gen AI is something that the organization has to have more of a short-term focus on because they are quick wins. But in terms of kind of building a longer-term strategy for the big wins, I think that's where there's a lot of collaboration that's required within the organization with the various business functions and strategy teams. So I think with that, we are open to more questions from the audience. I think we have addressed the questions that we've received so far. So Nitin or Arvind, is there anything else in the chat or the Q&A?
No, I think we have answered all the questions.
All right. And so, Dimitri, would you like to add anything in terms of how organizations can kind of focus on those big wins that Sudeep was talking about? Because those seem to be the ones that most executives are obviously very excited about. That's where they want to invest money in the long term and hopefully come up with more of a transformative solution on how they approach the business.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page, all of us on this call. How you need to address, and I think Sudeep provided the right framework in terms of the strategy thinking, how to look at the problem, and I think both me, Samantha, and Sudeep agree that it's a great way of starting with the proof of concept and trying to build the platform that can be used for all the different use cases across the organization when it comes to the AI. So yeah, that's the thought process.
Yep. So having that extensible platform for sure. Samantha, lastly, any thoughts from you?
I think I kind of wanted to meld together some thoughts about gains, but also with the culture question. So one, Gen AI capability we've really been focusing on is our generative knowledge capability. It's taking our knowledge management or knowledge tool or knowledge management repository, and then making that easier to create and to access. So we took this knowledge capability, we developed a generative tool for authors to use in creating those knowledge records. And then we developed an agent-facing tool in order to be able to access that information much more quickly. So rather than searching and reading articles, being able to pose a specific question, get a specific response, cut way down on agent search time. And then we also deployed that same capability to our customer-facing virtual assistant. So when you asked our virtual assistant a question, first, it would look to the pre-scripted responses. But then if none of those happen to fit the question that was being asked, it looks to our knowledge base, and then it dynamically drafts a response to that question using all the information stored in that knowledge repository. So same capability kind of being deployed across different use cases. It's been really successful in terms of business value. But I wanted to also touch on the culture question, because as we rolled this out, a concern was, hey, how are agents and employees going to feel about it? we are allowing them to be more efficient in their roles with this KM search. But that can be a little scary, right? Is that going to be misinterpreted as you're taking my job away, or any number of concerns? And what we found was just the most heartwarming response. What we heard from agents was, "Why didn't I have this 10 years ago? I love it. This is amazing. I'm so glad you did this." And so I think sometimes the culture question, it's important, and it's real work, but I think also when it's clear that it's not just AI, it's humans and AI, which I think is a theme we've touched on a few times during this conversation. I really think that kind of smooths the path from a culture and a change management and acceptance standpoint. So trying to leave on a little bit of a positive note, I think from a culture standpoint, we were pleased, I think, with how things have been received.
Yeah, no, great points there, Samantha. So yeah, we never talked about how people fear, possibly losing their jobs because of AI. And we've seen that, or we've seen examples of that in certain industries, I'm sure including ours as well to an extent. And I think maintaining that fine balance between making sure that your employees and AI experts are happy, along with obviously making sure that technology is being implemented and is successful and is driving business value is obviously very important. So I think we've touched on a lot of different topics tied to AI today, everything from strategy to various use cases that are tied to the network, use cases that are tied to internal employees, the end customer. We've talked about culture, we've talked about implementations going awry, and how those can be, how some of those pitfalls can be avoided. So I think it's been a fairly well-rounded discussion overall. Again, if there are any other questions from the audience, we would be more than happy to answer those. So if you guys have anything else you want to obviously hear from our panelists today, please feel free to send those questions in.
Thank you, Manish. I think let me wrap the conversation up as we are about to close on this conversation for this exciting webinar which we had till now. So let me thank all our community partners who have supported us till now from AI Course Spot, all our eminent speakers for today, which includes Samantha, Dimitri, Sudeep, and obviously you, moderator Manish, and every participant who has registered and wanted to contribute to this forum by asking questions or listening to the speakers. And I'm sure it fosters a great discussion for all of us. The panelists obviously delivered exceptional session, and we are grateful for their eagerness to collaborate and impart their knowledge. For those who couldn't attend the session or wish to review it, the recording will be accessible on our company's YouTube channel. So please go and access it anytime. We are excited about the upcoming technological advancements which we'll be delving this year and another new year which is coming now. Our future events will cover a wide array of sectors, including banking, financial, insurance, telecom, healthcare, retail, supply chain, manufacturing, and we'll keep on adding more and more industries as we move along. So keep in touch for ongoing education opportunities. Stay updated on the tech news by visiting our website and following us on social media channel. There you will find comprehensive information, notification of forthcoming events which we have, and guidance on how to sign up. Your support is the key here, so please engage with us and spread our content online. We extend our sincere appreciation to InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is our technology ally. Visit their website, which is infovision.com, to explore more about the tech innovations. It was a pleasure to present this session, and we hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did. We look forward to more engaging sessions in the near future as well. Till that time, take care and have a great day and year ahead. Thank you.